All right, it is time for Top 200 Films Countdown, circa 2011, video number 1. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be the first in a series where I count down my top 200 films from 200 to 1 of my favorite films as of 2011. Now I know that might sound a little bit out of left field, but how it works or why I'm doing this is because I recently celebrated my 10-year YouTube anniversary, and as such I want to look back on the past 10 years, but I need some time to put the information together for, particularly for the films I've seen in the past 10 years, because I have it over so many different systems and there's hundreds of films. So I thought to sort of tide us over, we could look back on where things were before the channel. And so this is only sort of like a year and a half before the channel. And then I'm also going to do a set of videos on my favorite films that I have seen in the past 10 years. So this is starting where we were, and then we're going to see how things have been. So that's the context for this video, and hopefully that provides some clarity if there was any confusion. In terms of where we were for film in 2011, if it's, it doesn't always... a year doesn't always generally pop up exactly what was happening at the time, but in terms of what was happening in terms of film, in terms of the Oscars, The King's Speech, The Black Swan, and The Fighter were some of the really big winners that year. In terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we were really just at the beginning. We had Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor, and that was it. In terms of Star Wars, we were between Star Wars. There was Star Wars dearth, nothing going on. So the prequel series had finished with Revenge of the Sith many years prior, and then I don't even know if the announcement of the sequel series had been announced yet. And in terms of the Twilight films, Breaking Dawn Part 1 had yet to be released. I did this in the middle of 2011, so Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse were out, but Breaking Dawn Part 1 had not been released. So hopefully that gives some context for all different kinds of film lovers in terms of where we were in terms of film. Now let's actually get to the movies. And oh yeah, so this one will also tell you exactly sort of when I made this list, because number 200 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So that came out in the summer of 2011, and I think I might have waited to make this list to have all of the Harry Potters be released. It would be a bit weird to do a film list at that time. They were so prevalent. I think I might have waited. I don't know, but Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, to be honest, I actually have not watched this film in many years. I think I probably watched Part 1 and 2 when they came out on DVD or Blu-ray back at that time, but I have yet to make it through a rewatch of the whole series. I might work on that this year because I have started reading the diaries of Alan Rickman, who of course played Severus Snape, and so and I haven't gotten to the point where he's talking about those films. So I might rewatch the series so that later in the year I can continue on and read his diaries. So yeah, so I can't say too much about the movie. I love the series. I know the author is problematic, that's a nice way to put it, but my love of the series is strong, and I do feel complicated about the connection there, but I can't deny that I love the films very, very much, and I think it's just an excellent series and films, and and so that is number 200. I guess it's time for a rewatch for that one. It's time for a rewatch. Number 199. So I will say, I put this list, I worked to get the images for this list, but I haven't thought too much about the titles. I was very surprised at this one. 199 is The Tooth Fairy, which is a comedy. I think it's probably a family comedy movie with The Rock, who plays a tooth fairy. I don't remember this pretty much at all. I think it came out in 2011, and my notes here is that it reaffirmed my belief system. So I am really curious to go back and rewatch this and try and figure out what it was saying that I was feeling so strongly about. And I also put that I felt strongly about standing up for the film, even though it's not cool. And I think that is something that I've changed over the years. And around that time and shortly thereafter, I started watching a broader range of films. And I actually got really into enjoying B-movies because I felt film had gotten very serious. And I do like almost every genre, just like with reading. So for me, I think it was helpful at the time, and I think I try and stay true to the fact that if I like something, I'm okay with saying that I like something. Like, it doesn't have to be cool, you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, The Tooth Fairy, 199. 198 is Persona. Yeah, wow, holy smokes. Like, at the time, like, around that time, I think from 2006 to 2011, I was very focused on film, and one of the things that I did was I went back and watched highly acclaimed films that I hadn't seen, and Persona was one of them, and I was blown away. Sometimes you watch movies and you're like, I don't understand what people see in this or this, whatever. Not Persona. It is excellent, and it particularly is excellent, I think, if for people who enjoy acting and for actors themselves. I thought it was absolutely brilliant and just wow, like just art house drama goodness. I don't know if I would say it's art house. Is it art house? Would you consider Persona art house? I don't know, but I loved it. That's the thing that I know about it. And but I haven't rewatched it since then. I don't rewatch a lot of sort of more drama-y films, but this one was very atmospheric, and I definitely want to watch more atmospheric films this year, or art house films or films based on texture and style, because there's just something magic about them. And Persona was. Whew, it was good. It was good. Next up we have, I forgot about this one. Okay, so 197 we have The Last Exorcism. So this is a horror film. It's a supernatural film. And this one, I will admit that part of what it was special to me about this film was the experiential element of this one, because I saw it at Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and I was able to interview Eli Roth, Ashley Bell, and Patrick Fabian, and that was extraordinary. Like, I couldn't believe that I was interviewing people for a film. So, and it is also a really good horror film in terms of, it's a found footage, verite style film, and it is a good film. But interviewing someone for a film, like, I was just, wow, it just really, it was the first time I had done that, and it was really special. And I love the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and I was doing media coverage for them, and it was just amazing. So that was so that's The Last Exorcism. I have rewatched it. It still holds up. I do think the film is really great and quite clever, and I have seen a fair amount of verite style films since then, and it's interesting to see the sort of subset, because it's like thriller, like horror, supernatural, and verite. Although I think a lot of verite horror is supernatural. Oh, let me know if you feel the same way about that. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to think more about that. So anyway, The Last Exorcism is 197. At 196, we have Near Dark. Oh gosh, I forgot about this one. So this is a vampire film. It was made in the 80s. It's directed by Catherine Bigelow. It was around the same time as Lost Boys, and I think it's one that Lost Boys really sort of got a lot of attention. But I actually think this one is really great, and it's got Lance Henriksen and the woman who played Vasquez in Aliens, I can't remember the lead actor's name. He was on Heroes, and I actually thought it was great. I watched this probably on the recommendation of Marina, to be honest, who I used to do a podcast with, and I also really have done a lot of, over the years, I've watched a lot of vampire films intentionally, like doing like vampire film marathons, so I watch a lot of them, and and this was one that I hadn't seen, so I watched it, I don't know, like late 2000s, probably 2008, 2009, and it was great, and I'm looking up the posters, I will have to say I think it's more gory than I remember, but it was an interesting take on the vampire stories, and did some things a little bit differently, so I thought that was great. Number 195. Ooh, yeah. Eyes Without a Face. Okay, this is a really creepy science fiction film. And it was one of the ones I did a couple of, Persona was probably on this list as well. I did 101 films to see in 1001 days as a part of my 101 things in 1001 days project that I did from 2006 to 2009 or something around there. So I made a list of 101 films I couldn't believe I hadn't seen. This is one. It's a classic. Ooh, scary. I found it very, very scary, but it also just hits on some marks. I think horror is like that. Like, horror isn't generally, unless you never see something, I feel like whether someone finds it scary isn't universal, because there are things that scare some people and don't scare other people. For me, this was like old school science fiction, creepy, and I felt that it really held up, and it was definitely one of my faves of that project that I did. And it was one of my faves of my project, and it only was not 195, so that says something. All right, 194, Frozen. Okay, so this is interesting because this is way before the Disney film, so I didn't even put anything else. Like, I put Frozen, drama, perfect. This is a 3-person, so Kevin Zegers, Sean Ashmore, and Emma Bell, and it is absolutely, I actually put drama, but it's more of a thriller. It's a nail biter. I saw this in the theater. It was a cold day. It was just, wow. Very, very, very tense, and very well paced. And I think films like this that need to hold that tension, they need that good pacing, good drama moments, good editing, and it had all of those things, and a great story, and great characters and great acting. Like, it just really sort of hit all of those marks, and so that was really a wonderful one. It also was one that I think I saw it in the regular theater after it had been at some festivals, and and I've had mixed results on whether or not I end up enjoying films like that, which is, to be honest, kind of normal, but sometimes when it's disappointing, it's really disappointing, but this was not. This was really, it was so good, so I was so happy that I had seen it. Okay, 193, we have Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa. Wow, I saw this at Cinematheque when it was still on McCall Street. I didn't know anything about what it was about. I just knew it was Akira Kurosawa, and that was enough for me. And I was working through all of his films, and this was absolutely wonderful. It's a drama. It's about making a difference. That's what I would say is sort of like kind of the theme. And I thought it was beautiful, wonderful, just had my heart, and just really, again, when I've worked through lists over the years, like, this one just completely exceeded expectations. It didn't even meet expectations. It exceeded expectations. It was exceptional. So highly recommend Ikiru. 192, we have, just changing the tone a little bit, Underworld. So this is the first one. Actually, I think, was it 2013? September 19th, some year. Really? I guess it was violent. I don't remember that part so much. I love this movie so much. I have watched this movie so many times. It's just, I love it stylistically. I love the character of Celine. It's a vampire and werewolf film. It was the first thing I had seen Michael Sheen in, and he is extraordinary. It's one of my favorite character introductions ever, is Michael Sheen's character in this movie. And I just loved it. It just, it's an urban fantasy in terms of the fact that it's a current day vampire set in a city. And it also has werewolves, vampires and werewolves, and I loved it. Out of all of the series, it definitely still is my favorite, although I like the third one. Not a lot of people are a fan of the third one. And I did do a film series catch-up for Underworld. I will leave that up in the cards up above if you would like to check it out. I think they didn't make any more after I did that video. So I have done a series rewatch of this one, but honestly, it is still the my favorite, without question. It's such a good movie. I will watch it anytime, anywhere. I love everything about it. I love the art design. I love the clothing. I love the characters. It's just so great. Next up, I was actually a little surprised to see this one, 191, Desperately Seeking Susan. So, wow, and I actually put that this is a romance. I don't remember, is it? Is it? It feels more like a caper or a hijinks. I can barely barely remember what this one is about. It's definitely one that I saw, rented from the, video store on VHS, with, of course, Rosanna Arquette and Madonna and Aidan Quinn. And I believe, does Rosanna Arquette have amnesia and then ends up being sort of taken under the wing of Madonna? Or is that what happens? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe there's no amnesia. I think there's amnesia. I can't remember. This is on something. I think it's on Canopy. So I definitely would love to rewatch it. I have no idea if I would have as strong feelings as I did about it at the time. If I would still feel that way now, or if it would just feel nostalgic. It's very, very 80s. So I wonder if that resonates, like would feel differently. And even Neon Socks, oh my gosh, I actually had socks like that. So anyway, Desperately Seeking Susan is 191, and I really do want to rewatch that. Maybe this will end up being a rewatch project. I'm not promising that. Okay, at 190, I have Spider-Man, and I had to look up what year this was from, because this is the 2003 version. I believe that's the right year for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and now we've had two more Spider-Man starts with the Andrew Garfield, and then also the MCU one with, I can't remember the actor's name. I feel like I'm getting old. I'm like the young guy. I'm like, oh my god. So anyway, the ones that are like Star Wars, or not Star Wars, Spider-Man, No Way Home and Far From Home, those ones. Yeah, so we've had 3 iterations, just if you include Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and the new ones. But I was actually a little surprised to see this on this list, and I actually put that it's a comic book movie, and I mostly included it because from seeing Ali and discussing the history of the Spider-Man's mutation in line, which I remember seeing that. I went to see Ali with a bunch of people, and we were standing outside talking, waiting in line for, like, that's how long ago that was, actually waiting in line to get in the theater. When is the last time you had to do that outside a film festival? Or maybe some people have never had to do that, but it was a second run theater, and we were watching Ali because it was nominated for Oscars, and we were talking about the mutation of Spider-Man, and I was like, yeah, I do really like that movie. So that's the reason it got included on this list. I haven't rewatched this in a long time. I do really like, especially the first one of this series. And so it's my 190th pick. Okay, let's go. Next up, we have 189, Desperado. I just put action repeat viewing. This is one that I owned on VHS. I don't know if I still have that tape. Probably do. And I watched it all the time. I just thought it was great. Lots of action, lots of one-liners. And it's, to be honest, it's more violent than a lot of stuff that I watch now. But it is that sort of like over-the-topness that sometimes I feel differently about realistic violence versus over-the-top violence. But yeah, 198, Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas. It is, I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I can still remember lines from it. I think also part of it, the reason I watched it a lot is I had it and I didn't have cable. So I watched it a lot. So yeah, there we go. Next up at 188, we have Alphaville. This is a really interesting one. I would say it's a science fiction film. It's directed by Jean-Luc Godard. And 1965. This one I found interesting because I'd never seen a science fiction film from the past where you could see things and notice things that came into being and things that are like, oh, why would someone do that? Like, why would that be the way you futuristically would try and do this science fiction thing? And it was the first time I had that experience. And so that's one of the reasons why it made it on the list. And I just feel like, it's one of those things I put that it was placed in its own time, even though it was futuristic. So there are certain moments that really just honed in on the fact that it was made in 65. It also is a good film by its own standards, on its own without that personal noticing or reflection. And I did really enjoy it. I haven't rewatched it. I don't know. This might be on Canopy, but I definitely would rewatch it. I thought it was great. I can't remember the story very much. I think it was sort of crime mystery if I remember correctly, but science fiction set, futuristic set, but from the 60s. I mean, it's all good stuff. All right, number 187, Unstoppable. So this one is from 2010 with Chris Pine and Denzel Washington. This is one that I am a little surprised now that 10-ish years later that I put it on the list. It was within a year from the film being out. I did really like it. I thought it was a really great thriller, and it also has that sort of like a sort of Taking of Pellum 1, 2, 3 kind of situation, because it's like a train situation. And I really liked the characters and the sentiment of, like, in the what's the right word? I thought it was a good character study, but it is one that I haven't rewatched. I did buy it, but then I never ended up rewatching it. So that says something too. Sometimes I don't know. Do I favor just watching things that are new? I don't know. So I think I still do have the DVD, so it might be worth giving that a shot. All right, let's go to 186 and then next time pick up with 185. So at 186 we have The Young Victoria. This is a biopic. I thought this was absolutely wonderful. We have, is it Emily Blunt? Yes, Her Country, Her Heart, Her Majesty. I thought it was a great female protagonist, historical just really great. Just about, I put persistence, stepping up, leadership, seeing things through and making things work. So yeah, I am for all of those things. So I just really, really appreciated this one. And I imagine it was nominated for Oscars in whatever year that was, but I can't remember if it was. But I felt like it was under talked about. I do definitely feel it was under talked about. I thought it was great, but I don't think it got as much love as I think it deserved. And but it was a good one. So there you go. Those are, I think, 15 or 14 math of my top 200 films circa 2011. It's the first one to kick off this series. There will be more videos. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if any of these are your favorites or if there's any here that now sound like you would like to watch. And do you do top lists? And I think I meant to do a top like 50 and then I ended up with a top 200. We'll see what happens for the past 10 years. And so this is all of the years up to 2011. So all right, I will see you in the next video where we will start with 185. All right, thanks so much for watching.